The desert burned under the twin suns. Waves of heat rose from the endless golden sands. The air shimmered, dry and merciless. Every grain of sand cut like fire against the skin. In this endless wasteland, silence ruled, broken only by the sound of labored breathing. The alien queen crawled across the dunes. Her golden armor was cracked and broken. Blood spilled from deep wounds across her arms and chest. Her crown, once shining with pride, was bent and stained with dust. She had been betrayed. Her own guards, her loyal soldiers, had turned on her. They had stabbed her in the back and left her to die in the desert. Her strength was fading. Every movement felt heavier than the last. Still, she refused to fall. She was a queen. She was power. She was pride. And yet, here she was, bleeding in silence. Far in the distance, a shape moved across the dunes. At first, she thought it was death coming for her. But then the figure grew clearer. It was no alien warrior. It was not her betrayers returning. It was something else, something she hated even more. A human. The figure climbed the dunes with slow, steady steps. His clothes were torn, his face covered in dust and scars. He carried no crown, no jewel, no royal armor. Only a worn rifle slung across his back and a half-empty flask tied to his belt. The queen's heart filled with rage. Of all creatures to find her in this moment, it had to be a human. He reached her side and knelt down. His eyes studied her wounds. His hand reached for the flask. "You're dying," he said, his voice rough but calm. "Drink." She turned, her head sharply snarling through her pain. Her voice was weak but filled with venom. "You are not worthy to touch me, human." The soldier paused, but he did not step back. He held the flask near her lips. "You need water or the desert will finish you." Her eyes blazed. Even broken and bleeding, her pride refused to bend. "I would rather bleed into the sand than take pity from you." The soldier's jaw tightened. He did not argue. He simply poured a small stream of water onto the sand beside her face. The liquid vanished instantly into the heat. A message. He would not force her. For a long moment, silence returned. Only the suns watched them. The queen's thoughts turned dark. This human could kill her now and claim her crown. He could drag her body back to his kind and be celebrated as the slayer of the alien queen. Yet, he did not. He stayed there, calm, unmoving, as if waiting for her to decide. Her pride burned, but so did her wounds. Every breath was fire. Every heartbeat was slower than the last. Finally, she whispered almost to herself, "Why?" The soldier looked at her. Dust clung to his face, but his eyes were steady. "Because no one deserves to die alone." The words cut her deeper than any blade. She was betrayed by her own kind, yet this human, her enemy, spoke with simple honesty. Still, she pushed the thought away. She could not show weakness. She could not show doubt. "Leave me here. Your touch shames me." The soldier stood, his shadow falling across her broken crown. He looked out over the endless desert. "You can hate me all you want," he said quietly, "but the desert doesn't care about pride. It kills everything the same." She tried to rise, but her legs failed. Pain shot through her body, forcing her back into the sand. The desert swallowed her strength. The soldier sighed and sat beside her. He did not speak again. He did not leave. He only sat there watching the horizon as the sun sank lower and the desert winds began to howl. And for the first time, the queen felt something she had not felt in years. Fear. Not of death, but of being forced to rely on a human. The silence of the desert grew heavy. The betrayal of her guards burned in her heart. Her hatred for the human kept her pride alive. Yet deep inside, a question twisted like a blade. Was this human truly unworthy? Or was he stronger than she wished to believe? The desert night was coming. And with it, something moved in the shadows beyond the dunes. The desert night arrived like a silent predator. The twin suns sank below the horizon, and with them, The last warmth vanished. Cold winds swept across the dunes, carrying whispers of death. Stars scattered across the dark sky, sharp and bright like 1,000 eyes watching from above. The alien queen sat slumped against a rock, her golden armor cracked, her wounds still bleeding. Every breath was a struggle, yet her eyes burned with pride and hatred. She would not bow to weakness. She would not bow to a human. The soldier sat across from her, a small fire flickering between them. The flames gave little warmth, but they pushed back the shadows. He poured the last drops of water from his flask into a dented metal cup and placed it near her side. "Drink. You'll die without it." She glared at him, her voice like venom. "You are not worthy to offer me life, human." His face hardened, but he did not argue. Instead, he leaned back against the stone, eyes fixed on the fire. "Then die proud, if that's what you want." The words cut her. She was used to soldiers begging to serve her, slaves kneeling at her feet. Yet this human treated her as if she was just another dying traveler. Silence stretched between them. Only the wind spoke, hissing across the dunes. Finally, she asked, her voice weak but sharp, "Why do you stay? You could leave me here and save yourself." The soldier's eyes flicked toward the horizon. "Because leaving you would mean watching someone give up. I've seen too much of that already." She narrowed her eyes. "Your people are weak. They break easily." The soldier gave a bitter laugh. "Maybe, but we don't stop fighting, even when we're broken." His words unsettled her. She wanted to dismiss them, but she could not. She had seen humans fight, foolishly, recklessly, but with a fire that even her strongest warriors feared. Her gaze drifted upward. The stars shimmered, but movement stirred between the dunes. Shapes slithered closer, low and silent. She knew that sound. The desert was never empty at night. "Something comes," she whispered. The soldier was already on his feet, rifle in hand. "Stay behind me." Her pride flared. "I take orders from no human." The first creature lunged from the dark, a beast with scales black as midnight and eyes glowing red. Its jaws opened wide, rows of teeth flashing in the firelight. The soldier fired. The shot echoed through the desert, striking the beast in the skull. It collapsed in the sand, but more followed. Dozens of glowing eyes circled the fire. The queen tried to rise, but pain locked her body. Her strength was gone. For the first time, she realized she could not fight. She hated the truth, but she was powerless. The soldier stood tall, firing, again and again, moving with the rhythm of survival. Each shot lit the night, each echo bounced across the dunes. Yet for every beast that fell, more crept closer. The queen snarled in frustration. "Fool, you cannot kill them all." He didn't turn, didn't break focus. "Then I'll kill enough to keep them from you." Her heart twisted with anger. And something else. Why did he care if she lived? Why would a human risk his life? For her? One beast broke through the circle, leaping past the fire. Its claws slashed the air, aiming for her throat. She tried to move, but her body betrayed her. Death was seconds away. The soldier spun, tackled the beast, and drove his knife into its neck. Blood sprayed across the sand. He pushed the body aside, panting, sweat and dust covering his face. The queen stared at him, speechless. For the second time that day, this human had saved her. The fire flickered, shadows danced, and the beasts hissed from the dark, waiting. The soldier's rifle clicked empty. He dropped it, pulling his knife again. His voice was steady, though his body shook, with exhaustion. "If they want you, they'll have to go through me." The queen's pride roared inside her chest, but so did something else. Doubt. This human should be nothing, weak, unworthy, beneath her. Yet he stood between her and death, bleeding and tired, ready to face an army of monsters alone. Her voice trembled, not from weakness, but from conflict. "Why? Why would you fight for me?" The soldier glanced back at her, his eyes sharp in the firelight. "Because no one deserves to die alone in the dark." Her chest tightened. She had been betrayed by her own kind, abandoned to die like a worthless pawn. Yet here was a human, her enemy choosing to stand, to fight, to bleed for her. The creatures hissed louder, preparing to strike again. The queen's hands shook. For the first time she wondered if her hatred had blinded her. For the first time she was not sure who was truly unworthy. The night stretched long, filled with danger, and in the silence between each attack, one truth echoed in her heart. Survival was no longer hers alone. The desert night grew darker. The fire burned low, its light fighting against the endless black. Every shadow seemed alive. Every gust of wind carried the hiss of unseen creatures. The alien queen leaned weakly against the rock, her breaths shallow, her golden armor cracked, her pride still unbroken. Across from her, the human soldier stood guard. His rifle was empty. Only the knife remained in his hand. Blood ran from a cut on his arm, soaking into the sand. His eyes scanned the darkness, searching for movement, waiting for the next attack. The beasts had retreated. For now. Their glowing eyes blinked in the distance, watching, circling, waiting for weakness. The queen broke the silence, her voice sharp but low. They will come again. The desert does not forgive weakness. The soldier didn't look at her. He kept his gaze on the dunes. Then let them come. His tone was calm, but she could see the truth. His body was weary, his breaths heavy. Any human would have collapsed long ago. Yet he still stood. The queen narrowed her eyes. She could not understand him. Why risk himself for her? Why fight for someone who called him unworthy? She whispered almost to herself. Foolish human. A sound cut the night, a deep growl. The soldier stiffened, gripping his knife tighter. From the dunes, 3 beasts slithered forward, scales glinting in the starlight. Their eyes burned red, their jaws dripping with venom. The soldier stepped forward, placing himself between the queen and the monsters. His shadow stretched across her as the fire flickered. The first beast lunged. The soldier rolled aside, slashing, his knife across its belly. The creature shrieked, thrashing in the sand. The second beast attacked from the side, claws flashing. The soldier blocked with his arm, pain tearing through him, but he drove the blade into its throat. The queen watched, her heart racing. He fought like no human she had ever seen, not for glory, not for conquest, but with the raw, desperate strength of survival. The third beast circled, faster, smarter. It darted past him, straight toward her. The queen tried to rise, but her body betrayed her again. Pain locked her limbs. She could not move. The beast's jaws opened wide, teeth ready to crush her throat. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end. But the soldier was there. He threw himself between her and the beast, knife plunging deep into its mouth. The creature fell still, its blood mixing with the sand. He staggered back, breathing hard, blood dripping from his wounds. For a moment he swayed, his strength almost gone. The queen stared at him, her chest tight. Twice now he had placed himself in the path of death for her. She hated it. She hated him. She hated that his actions stirred something inside her that felt dangerously close to respect. "You risk your life for nothing," she hissed. The soldier turned, meeting her gaze. His eyes burned with quiet fire. "No life is nothing," his words silenced her. She had been raised to believe only power mattered, that weakness deserved death. Yet this human spoke as if every life, even hers in this broken state, held value. The fire crackled weakly, the night pressing closer. The beasts had retreated again, but more eyes glowed in the distance. The queen's voice was softer this time, almost uncertain. "You will not survive till dawn." "Maybe not," the soldier admitted. He sat down near the fire, knife still in hand, watching the horizon. "But if I die, it won't be running. It'll be standing." She studied him in silence. His scars, his dust-covered face, his steady eyes. He was nothing like the warriors of her people. No shining armor, no royal blood, no army at his back. Yet in this desert, he seemed stronger than all of them. For the first time, doubt slipped into her heart. Were humans truly as unworthy as she believed? The night dragged on. The wind howled, carrying the scent of blood. The beasts circled, waiting for their moment. The soldier never closed his eyes, never lowered his knife. The queen, despite her pain, felt something she had not felt in years: safety. Not from her guards, not from her throne, but from a single human who refused to leave her side. As the stars wheeled overhead, the desert seemed to whisper of something greater. Betrayal had left her bleeding. Hatred kept her alive. But now, something new crept into her heart, something she did not want to name. She turned her face from him, hiding her thoughts. But in the silence of the desert night, one truth echoed louder than the beast's growls. This human was not like the others. And when dawn came, she knew her hatred would no longer be enough. The desert dawn came slowly. A thin line of light spread across the horizon, painting the dunes in red and gold. The fire had died during the night, leaving only smoke and ash. The beasts were gone, their tracks carved deep in the sand. Silence ruled once again, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of survival. The alien queen opened her eyes. Her body was heavy, her wounds deep, but she was still alive. For a moment she did not know why. Then she saw him. The human soldier sat nearby, his back against a rock. His eyes were closed, but his knife still rested in his hand. Blood stained his torn clothes, and his breathing was shallow, yet he had not left her side. The queen's gaze lingered on him. She hated the sight, yet could not look away. This human had stood between her and death again and again. She did not understand it. No warrior of her people would risk so much for someone they despised. She whispered, almost to herself, "Why do you not leave?" The soldier's eyes opened slowly. He looked at her, tired but steady. "Because if I leave, you die, and I don't abandon people." The words struck her like a blade. I don't abandon people. Her guards had abandoned her. Her council had betrayed her. Yet a human, her enemy, stayed. She turned her head sharply, hiding her thoughts. "You are a fool." He gave a faint smile. "Maybe, but fools can survive sometimes." The queen's pride burned inside her. She wanted to insult him, to remind him he was beneath her. But the desert had stripped away many lies. She was weak, and he was strong. That truth she could not deny. The soldier reached into his pack and pulled out a strip of cloth. Without asking, he moved toward her and tied it around her bleeding arm. She hissed, trying to pull away. "Do not touch me," she snarled. He did not stop. His voice was calm but firm. "If I don't, you'll bleed out before the sun is high." His hands were steady, careful, almost gentle. She stared at him, confused. No one had touched her with such care in years, not even her own kind. "When," he finished, he leaned back. "That will hold for a while." She studied him in silence. Finally, she asked, "Why fight for me? You gain nothing." He looked at her with tired eyes. "I don't need to gain anything. Sometimes you just fight because it's the right thing to do." His words unsettled her. The concept was alien to her people, who fought only for power, for glory, for conquest. Could humans truly be so different? The wind swept across the dunes, carrying a sound from afar. The soldier stiffened, listening. In the distance, engines roared. Shadows of ships moved against the sky. The queen's heart tightened. Her betrayers were hunting her. They would not rest until her blood stained the sand. The soldier saw the fear flicker in her eyes. "They're coming for you." She nodded, her pride unable to hide the truth. "Yes, my own guards, my own people." Her voice was bitter, sharp like broken glass. The soldier tightened his grip on his knife. "Then we'll face them." She almost laughed, though pain made it weak. "You, one human against an army?" His gaze did not waver. "One human is enough." The queen stared at him, shocked. His words carried no arrogance, no pride, only certainty. He believed it, truly believed it. Something shifted inside her. She had always seen humans as weak, unworthy. Yet this one stood unbroken even against death. For the first time, she felt the weight of choice. She could cling to her pride and face death alone, or she could trust the human. Her voice trembled, though she tried to keep it steady. If I tell you a secret, if I give you something powerful, will you fight with me? Not for me, the soldier raised an eyebrow. What kind of secret? Her eyes hardened. The crown I wear is not just gold. It holds power, a power my betrayers would kill for. He frowned. And you trust me with this? Her pride screamed at her to say no, but her survival whispered yes. I do not trust you, she said at last. But I have no choice. The soldier nodded slowly. Then we'll survive together. For now. The desert wind howled around them, carrying the promise of battle. In the distance, the ships grew closer. For the first time, the alien queen and the human soldier were not just enemies. They were something else. Two survivors bound by necessity, standing on the edge of war. And though she would not admit it aloud, the queen felt something she had never felt before. A spark of respect for a human. The desert wind screamed as dawn turned into blazing daylight. Heat shimmered on the dunes, and the smell of blood still clung to the air from the night's battle. The alien queen leaned heavily against a jagged stone, her wounds burning. Her crown rested crooked on her brow, its golden shine dulled by dust. The human soldier stood beside her, knife in hand, eyes locked on the sky. Dark shapes grew larger as ships descended from the clouds, their engines echoing across the sands. The queen's heart clenched. These were not rescuers. These were her betrayers, the royal guards who had turned against her. She spat into the sand, her voice dripping with venom. They come to finish what they started. The soldier glanced at her. Then we don't let them. She gave a bitter laugh. You speak as if two dying creatures can stand against trained killers. His jaw tightened. Two can fight, two can bleed, and sometimes two is enough. Her gaze locked on him. She hated the calm in his voice, hated that it stirred something deep inside her. Yet the truth burned in her chest. Without him, she would already be dead. The ships landed with a roar, kicking up waves of sand. From their hulls stepped tall figures in shining armor, the very soldiers who had once bowed at her feet. Now their weapons were raised, their eyes cold. One of them called out, his voice sharp through a helmet speaker. Queen Serath, your reign is over. Surrender the crown and your death will be swift. The queen's eyes blazed with fury. Traitors, you dare stand against me? The soldier leaned closer to her, whispering, We can't face them head on. Tell me about this crown. What power does it hold? She hesitated, trusting a human. With her greatest secret twisted her pride like a knife. But her enemies were already spreading out, circling like predators. She had no choice. The crown is not only a symbol, she said softly. It is a key. It carries the codes to our fleet, the command of thousands. Whoever wears it controls more than soldiers. They control worlds. The soldier's eyes hardened. Then that's why they want you dead, and why you can't fall. Here. The soldiers advanced, rifles humming with deadly energy. The queen's heart pounded. She had to choose. Cling to her pride and face death alone, or fight beside the human she once called unworthy. Her voice trembled with both hatred and need. Human, will you stand with me? The soldier didn't hesitate. I already have. The words cut through her like sunlight breaking the night. For a moment her pride wavered. Then she lifted her chin. Then we fight. The first shot blazed across the desert, striking the stone beside her. Sand exploded into the air. The human pulled her down, shielding her with his body as another blast tore past. He drew his rifle, only a few bullets left, and returned fire. One traitor fell. The others pressed forward, their armor gleaming under the suns. The queen pushed herself upright, her body weak but her spirit fierce. She raised her voice, sharp as a blade. You call yourselves my guards? You are nothing but cowards hiding behind stolen honor. Her words carried across the battlefield, filled with royal fury. For a moment, The traitors hesitated. The soldier used that pause, firing again, forcing two more to dive for cover. He knelt beside her, breathing hard. "If we don't move, we're finished." She nodded, gripping her crown. "Then listen, human. Its power is not only codes. It can blind. They're weapons if I still have the strength." He gave her a steady look. "Then save your strength for that. I'll keep them busy." She almost protested, almost told him he was unworthy. But the words died on her lips. Instead, she whispered, "Do not die, human. Not yet." He smirked, gripping his knife. "I'll try not to." The battle roared on. Blasts lit the desert, sand turning to glass where beams struck. The soldier darted between rocks, drawing fire, moving with desperate speed. The queen pressed her hands to the crown, whispering words of ancient command. Energy pulsed through the golden metal, spreading like fire through her veins. One by one, the enemy rifles flickered, then failed. Sparks flew from their weapons as the crown's power spread, cutting them off from their stolen strength. The traitors cried out in shock. The soldier leapt forward, striking one down with his blade, kicking another into the sand. The queen raised her head, her voice a snarl. "You thought me broken, you thought me weak, but I am still your queen." The remaining guards wavered, fear breaking through their rage. But their leader raised his blade, pointing at her. "Even without our rifles, we are more than enough to end you." The queen's strength faltered. The crown's power drained her, each second heavier than the last. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. The soldier rushed to her side, his knife dripping with blood. "Stay with me, don't stop now." Her vision blurred. She could feel her life slipping. Yet even as darkness crept in, she made her choice. She would not die abandoned. She would not die betrayed. She would fight. With him. The dunes shook, with the footsteps of advancing traitors. The desert sun blazed down, and in that burning light the queen whispered through bloodied lips, "Then let us show them, human, what worthy truly means." The desert shook with footsteps. The traitor guards marched forward, their armor shining in the brutal sunlight. Though their rifles sparked uselessly, their swords hummed with deadly energy. Each step they took sent dust swirling around the broken queen and the human soldier who stood at her side. The alien queen's strength was nearly gone. The crown's power had drained her, leaving her body trembling and weak. Still, her eyes burned with fire. She would not kneel before those who betrayed her. The human soldier stood tall, knife in hand, chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Blood streaked his face, but his spirit remained unbroken. He looked at the traitors and muttered under his breath, "So be it." The first wave of guards charged. The human didn't back away. He ran forward. His knife flashed as he struck, the first traitor across the throat, spinning to block another's blade. Sparks burst as steel clashed with steel. The queen watched with wide eyes. He fought with no shield, no armor, no royal training. Yet every strike was fierce, every move desperate but fearless. He bled, he staggered, but he never stopped. One guard's sword sliced across his arm, another slammed into his chest, knocking him to the sand. The traitor raised his blade for the kill. The queen's voice tore through the air. "No!" Her cry carried more than anger, it carried power. The crown glowed faintly, sending a shockwave that knocked the guard back for a moment. The human rolled, pushing himself to his feet, knife still in hand. He looked at her, sweat dripping into his eyes. "Don't waste your strength on me." Her lips curled into a snarl. "You fight for me, then I will not let you fall." The guards closed. In again, the human fought with the last of his strength, knife slashing, fists striking. He was only one man, yet he stood against them all. His movements slowed, his body failing, but still he resisted. The queen's heart twisted. She had called him unworthy. She had spat at his kindness. Yet now he risked everything, not for her crown, not for power, but simply because he refused to let her die alone. Her mind screamed to hold on to pride, but her heart whispered another truth. This human was more worthy than any who had ever sworn loyalty to her. The traitor leader stepped forward, taller than the rest, his blade glowing with red energy. His voice thundered, "You protect her, human, then you will die first." The soldier raised his knife, his body shaking but his eyes unbroken. "Then come and try." The leader's blade swung down. The human blocked, sparks exploding, but the force sent him crashing to his knees. His knife clattered to the sand. The traitor raised his weapon for the final strike. The queen's body screamed in pain, but her spirit roared. She dragged herself forward, her hand clutching the crown. Power surged through her veins, burning her from the inside. "Enough!" she cried, her voice echoing across the dunes. The crown blazed with golden light. The traitors staggered, blinded by its power. The leader froze, his blade trembling in his hands. The queen rose to her feet, blood dripping down her body, her crown shining with ancient fire. She stood tall beside the human, her voice sharp as thunder. "You call him unworthy? He has stood where all of you have fallen. He has shed blood where you showed only betrayal. You are not my guards. You are nothing. And this human—" She turned, her eyes locking on him. "This human is more worthy than any of you." The traitors hesitated. Their leader growled, but fear crept into his eyes. The soldier, still on his knees, looked up at her. For the first time he saw no hatred in her face, only truth. The queen raised her hand, the crown's light burning brighter. With a roar, she unleashed its power. A wave of golden energy burst across the battlefield, striking the traitors. Their swords shattered, their armor cracked, and they were thrown back into the sand. The desert fell silent. The air smelled of smoke and dust. The queen staggered, nearly collapsing, but the human caught her before she fell. His arms were weak, trembling, but still he held her upright. Her voice was a whisper, raw and broken. You are not unworthy." The soldier gave a faint smile, his face pale with exhaustion. "Took you long enough to see it." For a moment, silence stretched between them. She wanted to deny it, to spit another insult, but the truth had already escaped her lips. The human had proved his worth, not through bloodlines, not through power, but through courage. The surviving traitors dragged themselves up, fear in their eyes. Their leader glared at the queen and the human, then turned to retreat into the dunes. The others followed, broken and defeated. The queen watched them vanish into the horizon. She knew they would return stronger with more allies, but for now victory was theirs. Her knees buckled and she sank into the sand. The human sat beside her, both of them too tired to move. The desert wind howled, carrying away the dust of battle. For the first time since her betrayal, the queen felt something she had never felt before. Hope. Not in her crown, not in her throne, but in the unyielding spirit of a single human. And though she would never admit it aloud, she knew one unique truth that would haunt her forever. She needed him. The desert lay silent after the battle. The dunes were littered with broken weapons and trails of blood. Smoke drifted from the sand where energy blades had struck. The traitors had fled, their ships vanishing into the horizon. For now, the battlefield belonged to only two figures, the alien queen and the human soldier. The queen sat weakly in the sand, her golden crown glowing faintly, its power nearly drained. Every breath was heavy. Every muscle screamed in pain, but she was alive. Alive because of him. The human sat close by, his knife stained, his body cut and bruised. His chest rose and fell slowly, each breath a struggle, but his eyes remained steady. He had fought an army and survived. For a long time, neither spoke. The wind moved softly across the dunes, carrying away the ashes of war. Finally, the queen broke the silence. Her voice was hoarse, but her words carried weight. "You should have left me. You would have lived longer." The soldier gave a faint smile. "Maybe. But I would have lived with regret. I'd rather die fighting than walk away." She studied him, her pride still present, but softened by truth. "And now?" You have nothing left. No water, no strength. Only me. He met her gaze unflinching. Then I'll stand with you, to the end. The words pierced her like a blade, not of pain, but of something far more dangerous. Trust. Her thoughts burned with conflict. She was a queen, raised to see humans as lesser beings. Yet this one had proven himself again and again. He had saved. Her life fought her enemies and stood firm where others had betrayed. She whispered almost to herself, "Perhaps worth is not written in bloodlines, but in actions." The soldier tilted his head. "What does that mean?" Her eyes met his. "It means you are not unworthy." The words hung in the air, heavy and final. She had sworn she would never give such recognition to a human. Yet here, in the desert where pride and power had failed her, she spoke the truth. The soldier let out a tired laugh. "That's the closest thing to a compliment I'll ever get from you, isn't it?" Her lips curved. Not quite a smile, but not anger, either. "Do not get used to it." Before he could answer, the ground shook. The desert trembled as another sound filled the air. Distant engines, louder this time, heavier. The Queen's heart tightened. More ships. They will not stop. The soldier stood, swaying slightly but refusing to fall. "Then we fight again." She looked at him, then at the faintly glowing crown in her hands. Its power was weak, almost gone, but enough for one last act. Her voice was steady. "No, this time we do more than fight. This time we claim." He frowned. "Claim what?" She rose to her feet, her body trembling, but her spirit unbroken. "A bond. A truth that even my people cannot deny. If I call you mine, they cannot erase it. If I name you worthy, then even betrayal cannot break it." The soldier blinked, stunned. "You're saying—" Her eyes blazed with royal fire. "I am saying that today under these suns I claim you as my shield. My chosen. My equal." The words thundered in the air, more powerful than any weapon. The crown glowed, its light spreading across the desert. The sky seemed to tremble. The soldier stared at her, unsure if he should laugh or bow. At last, he said quietly, "Then I'll stand as your equal, but don't expect me to kneel." Her gaze softened just slightly. "Good. I would not want you to." The approaching ships grew closer, their shadows stretching across the dunes. The Queen straightened her back, the crown's last energy flaring. Beside her, the human lifted his knife, ready once again. Together, they faced the horizon, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as something far greater. The Queen spoke, her voice carrying across the desert sharp and unyielding. "Let them come. Let them see. Today they will learn. No crown, no throne, no army decides worth. Only the will to fight does, and no one fights harder than a human." The soldier smirked, gripping his blade tighter. "Glad you finally figured that out." The ships descended, the desert roaring with sound. The wind whipped around them, carrying the promise of battle. The Queen and the human stood side by side, broken but unbowed, betrayed, bleeding, but not defeated. And as the suns blazed overhead, one truth echoed louder than war itself. Together they were unstoppable.